Hello everyone, welcome to this Thursday's live stream. The 2 weeks have gone past really quickly since the last one, but been a lot of interesting things happening at my side. David's joined quickly as usual, which is great to see. I think everything is just checking all the tech, all the hardware. Hey Henry, how you doing? Looking forward to a call with yourself on Monday, just to let anyone know who's not in the Rocky Brand Discord, which you should be. You can see the address on screen right now. Join up. Henry won our prize draw raffle for getting to 50 members, and so I'm going to have a little one-to-one with Henry on Monday, which I'm really looking forward to finding out more about Henry himself, and interested to see what questions he's going to ask of me. So looking forward to that. So today's live stream, we're going to look at different ways that I have kind of promoted myself or raised awareness of my brand in order to get clients, and just taking a look at what's out there at the moment that you can use as a designer to build a portfolio online, or build a website online where customers or potential customers can take a look at your work, find out a little bit more about you, see if you're the right fit for their project. Now, this can be for, if you're new to design and you're looking to build your first portfolio, but also there'll be designers who've been around, the design game for a while now who still don't, have a solid presence online. And there'll be an interesting thing tonight in that when we're looking through these sites, a lot of these sites I don't use and have never used, or I have an account on them and I maybe have one piece of work. So the reason I'm saying that is that you don't have to be on everything that I show you. Really, you just kind of need to focus on one area and have one main goal in mind. And we'll talk about goals and things as we go through the stream. But it's just to say that don't kind of get overwhelmed. And if we're looking at all these sites that you feel that you have to have a portfolio on every single one of these sites, I think we're going to probably look at about 6 or 7 today that have different, some which are free, some which are not free, some which are kind of almost pre-built for you, and others where you will build them yourself to the specification that you want. And we'll talk about other ways of raising awareness as well that isn't an online portfolio. And this question came up in the Discord. I asked for topics to discuss. So that's another reason that you can join, is that you have more access to me and more influence over the topics that I'll talk about on these live streams. And I just asked. I've been super busy the past couple of weeks and didn't have time to really think about what the topic would be. So the easiest thing to do is to ask, what burning questions do people have? And so, self-promotion and raising awareness was one of the things. There are other things which we'll talk about in future streams. And it can be one of the hardest things to do. You could be a fantastic designer, but no one is seeing your work. And the things that we're talking about today, where I'm showing you portfolio websites, or websites where you can build portfolios on them on the platform. You can still build, you can build an amazing looking portfolio, but you still need to get the eyes of your potential clients on there. And I'm no marketing guru. Let's put that out there right now. I'm like a lot of you. I'm a designer who has to learn how to be a salesman, who has to learn how to be a marketer, who has to learn all the things, has to learn how to be an accountant, all that stuff to run a business. But marketing isn't my biggest strong point. But what I'll say is that I haven't paid to advertise my business in order to get clients. All of my clients have come through referral, word of mouth, and one of the things which I'll talk about just now. So I suppose what I'll do is I'll start off by saying how I've raised brand awareness, but just check, see who's in the room. Ephraim's in the room, Lauren's in the room, and Stamashia's in the room. Brilliant. We've got quite a few people watching, which is great to see. If you've got any questions whilst I'm talking, by the way, please just drop them in the chat, and I'll keep checking, and I'll answer anything which is relevant to the stream. So yeah, for me personally, like I say, I've never advertised, and it's not because I disagree with paid advertising, it's because I didn't have the budget to pay for advertising. I'm sure if I had lots of money, I would have paid for advertising. I've maybe dabbled in Google AdWords at one point, where they've sent me a free £50 voucher to, as credit to use Google AdWords, but I've never really used anything like that. So in the early years, the only way that I raised awareness of my services and my skills was through good old-fashioned in-person networking events. I had a website, but there wasn't really a huge amount on it. I think it's probably like 1 or 2 pages. Wasn't very descriptive, and one of the problems early on that most people have is that you don't have work to display. So how do you get work if you haven't got work to show the skills that you have? And for me, I suppose there is a bit, with your first few clients, those clients are probably going to need to know that they can trust you can do the work without maybe seeing too much in terms of a portfolio. Now, you can build a portfolio up of work which is fictitious work, so not for clients, personal projects which show your skills, and that's great because that can show that you show style and professionalism and how well you can present the projects and things. But a lot of clients will want reassurance, and the way they get reassurance is by knowing the work that you've done for other business owners. So it's kind of a catch-22, is that, how do you get business from business owners if they're wanting, to know what work you've done for other businesses, and you don't have that because you've not been able to get that. So you're in this sort of loop. And the way I got around that was through in-person networking, going to local business networking events and just building up relationships, showing up every week, talking about the skills that I have, and just getting to know people. It's so underrated, because when you get to know people, they get to know you, and you start to build an awareness that way of the type of person you are. If you're a listener, if you're interested in like the design problems that they may be having in their business, and by building up a relationship, there's more chance that they will ask you to do something for them. And it might be a small job just to test, because they might not want to risk spending too much money with you early on, and that's reasonable. So it might just be a simple thing like a business card or a flyer, but we all have to start somewhere on these things. We don't all get to start on massive, exciting, rebrands or brand building projects, because they cost a lot of money, and so business owners are going to want to know that they're working with someone that has the history in being able to do that sort of work. So you have to build yourself up ever so slowly, so you start off with business cards and stationery, and you work your way up to maybe some signage, and you maybe then work your way into doing some smaller logo work, and you just work your way up. But for me anyway, getting onto that ladder of getting paid clients was boots on the ground and going out to networking events. And what I will say for anyone that's like, oh, I can't do that, is that I was, and still am to an extent, I don't particularly like business networking events. I'm quite a shy person when it comes to being in groups of people that I don't know. I'm not great with that. But if you want to get clients, then there's a lot of times running, whether you're a freelancer, well, not whether you're a freelancer, but if you are wanting to be your own boss and kind of get out there, there's going to be a lot of times where you're just going to have to bite the bullet, eat the frog, whatever saying you use, and just get out there and push yourself out. You're essentially going to be out of your comfort zone a lot. But when you are out of your comfort zone, it generally means that you're challenging yourself, so you're probably in the right space. And once you do those challenges a few times, you become much more comfortable with them. So there are some skills that you'll need to learn, like, how do you pitch yourself quickly to someone? What's the core thing that you could, that you're going to tell people when they say, what do you do? So I'll check here. Parmesh has asked a question, and I'll answer your question towards the end of the live stream, Parmesh, because it's slightly different topic to what we're talking about today. So you'll probably know of it as an elevator pitch, where you've got to try to get across to someone really quickly what it is that you can do, and you have to be quite clever with that sometimes. And if you say, what do you do, Col? And I say, I'm a graphic designer. A lot of people think they know what a graphic designer does, but a lot of the time they don't. And so by you saying I'm a graphic designer, the conversation may stop at that point, because they'll go, oh, okay, that's cool. And it may just stop. They won't ask you, so what kind of things do you do? You want that conversation to go past that first question. So if someone asks you, what is it that you do? Rather than say I'm a graphic designer, you could say, I solve design problems. And that might, have someone going, well, what do you mean? What do you mean you solve design problems? What kind of design problems? And you start a conversation. You can tell them about the different services that well, I do logo design, which helps solve the problem of having an identifiable emblem or symbol for a business so that their customers can instantly recognize them. Or you can talk about packaging or advertising. These are all design problems that you can help people solve. That's quite a nebulous answer for people, but every single time people would say, what do you mean? You give people confidence, because that could mean I'm like, hypnotherapist, and I give them confidence through hypnotherapy and stuff like that. So it's an open question. And so I would just tell them, I give business owners confidence by building strong brands and branding, so that when they go out to the world, they're proud of everything that they show, and it gives a clear message of the product or service and the benefits that they can offer to their customers. And by just coming in at that angle, I got into conversations or longer conversations, rather than kind of being dismissed, going, oh, I've already got a graphic designer, or yeah, I use someone. And by answering differently, even if they are using a graphic designer, if you come in as a graphic designer that approaches design in a different way from who they're using, because who they're using might just be, hey, I'm a graphic designer, I do business cards, etc., etc. But if you come at it from an angle of design, but problem solving and strategy, and you're going to really think about their business, they're going to be much more interested in you. Plus, by opening up a conversation in that respect and having and getting across that that you're knowledgeable and you're thinking more deeply about their business and how you can help their brand and help their business sell more products, sell more services, you're kind of subconsciously already raising yourself up in terms of value compared to those that don't do that. So And that will get you a good reputation more quickly as well. And reputation is important because what you want is you want to be doing that work for the people in, in that networking group, but you then want those people to be telling, standing up each week. If you've done work for them, you want them to stand up and, just say to the room, hey everyone, I just want to show you this cool thing that Call designed for me. It's really, it's really making my business stand out. I'm so pleased with it. And some people may not do that naturally, so you can just ask them and say, would you mind just mentioning at the next networking event that I've done some work for you and you're really happy with it? Most people will be happy to do that. And because it'll be a closer knit community, you will then probably get work from the other people in the room. But then what happens is you're not really trying to sell to the people in the room. You're trying to get access to their network of their suppliers and business, their clients, their business colleagues, their friends. Because if you just try to sell to the room, you're going to run out pretty quickly. So one other tip as well is to not just go into a business networking event trying to sell your services. If you want to raise awareness of yourself as a good designer, then listening should be one of your biggest skills. So for the first couple of times that you go to a networking event, don't try and sell your service. It may seem weird, but if you just walk in there and try to sell, nobody knows who you are, you're probably not going to get a sale anyway. So you're better off not trying to sell. The best thing you can do for the first couple of weeks, if it's weekly, I would say the first 3 to 4 times, is to go around everyone in the room, ask about their business, ask how it's going, get to know as much as you can about them, because people like to talk about their business. They like to talk about their own, their own thing, because that's why they're there. They're there trying to sell to you as well. But listen, and so that and take notes if you can, so that when you go back the next week, everyone will have a name badge on probably. You can go to them and say, hey Bill, that was really interesting what you said about your business last week, and bring up what it was they said, and say, I've been thinking about that, having some ideas, this might be useful to you, or you can maybe think about doing that, but you're still not selling your services to them. You're just giving them ideas of what they can do. And if you start to do that, you'll get a reputation of being someone that's not just trying to sell, but you're actually taking an interest, so that when someone in that room is ready for some design work, they probably will come to you. But also, by the time you've been there 3 or 4 times, and then you start to ask these people, so you've had your little chat and you say, just wondering, is there anything that I can do for you in terms of design? I'd love to help you out. They're going to be much more receptive to that. So I think in the days, and the reason I'm talking about this now is because I think these days it's very easy to just go, I need an online portfolio. That's how I'm going to get clients. People will be Googling and they're going to find me. Think how many designers there are. Think how many Google results are going to come up for, graphic designer. Even if they do graphic designer / your local name, where you are in your town. So for me, it'd be Dundee, graphic designers Dundee. There's a lot of results for that, but by going locally and networking that way, it works really well. Now, you can also network online. There's lots of online networking groups. We're all used to using Zoom these days. You would still use that same technique. The technique doesn't change. It's just that you're turning up in a virtual, room. You still would act the same way. You would still take an interest in everyone. Generally in those ones and in the in-person ones, you will be given an opportunity to talk about your business, whether it's 30 seconds or 60 seconds, and you can do your elevator pitch. But I'm just saying that when you're one-to-one, doing your one-to-ones with people, is to try to limit your eagerness to sell your services. Just give it a few weeks. Just give it a few weeks to do that. Let me just check in on here. Hey Hassan, how you doing? I'm good, thanks. I hope you are too. Samasi saying, I recently realised people believe that a graphic designer is someone who just draws really well. There's that as well. Yet a lot of people think I'm terrible at drawing, and I have to clarify that I'm a graphic designer. What they're looking for is an illustrator. And there's different skills. There are graphic designers who are great at illustration, but I'm not, and I very much in the graphic design camp. I'm not good at drawing. So, and that's what I'm saying is people have this perception of what graphic design is. So it's important that you can have a discussion with them and open their eyes to what it is that you do. Because the amount of times I'll have people come, I'll maybe mention a service that I used to do, and they'll be like, oh, I didn't know you did that as well. I thought you just did business cards and letterheads. And you think to yourself, well, that probably explains why that's the only thing that I'm being offered at this networking group, is because that's what they all think. And so you have to go with the mindset of educating people to what it is that you can do and what you can offer them. Hey Adam, thanks for joining. Henry's saying that he would ready his business card just in case. Yeah, business cards are good. I don't know. I hardly get asked for business cards these days. I don't know how many people use them anymore. I'm still a big fan of them if they are done well, and are, done in an interesting way, especially as a designer. As a designer, you should be showing off your creativity at the first possible opportunity. So don't just have a boring business card. Spend some time thinking about it. Be more creative with it. You can get all sorts of things. I had some that were made out of metal. You can get them cut to shape, and you can get them to do all sorts of different things. So as a designer, I would say, it's your first opportunity. If you are going to hand over a business card, is for someone to go, wow, I have never seen a business card like this. That's your open door. That just opens the door to a conversation. If you're a graphic designer and you're handing over something, if you hand over a business card and the person you're speaking to is an accountant and they hand over a business card and your business cards are fairly similar, that's not a good place to be in. You need to be showing that you have that great creativity and way of thinking. Hey Shane, thanks for joining the stream. So that was just to kind of, I wanted to get across that in person is really good, and I think it's underrated. Yes, we've had that global situation over the past couple of years, and that put a stop to a lot of in-person meetings. But things are slowly coming back, and meetings are happening again, and there were, some people are shy, like say I was shy, and some people are nervous and they don't like to do it. But all I'll say is that being kind of loners and a bit shy and stuff, that's a lot of designers. And so if you can push yourself out of your comfort zone, you'll be doing way more than a lot of the other designers who stay and go, I can't go networking, I'm not going to go networking, I'm going to stay behind my desk and not speak to anyone. Then that means that you've got more of an opportunity, because no one else is going out there and speaking to these people. So it is worth it, to kind of put yourself into that awkward space of, I'm not sure about this. It does make a difference. And like I say, the more you do it, the more natural it becomes, and you get used to it. And and by getting used to it, things flow better. It doesn't feel, it might feel like you're being a little bit scripted, because you might practice before you go, this is what I'm going to say, this is what I'm going to say, and you might mess it up and get a little bit lost, but that's fine. There's a lot of people who go to networking events and are nervous. You're not the only one in that room who will be nervous. There'll be a ton of people in the room who are nervous. It happens all the time. We always think we're the only nervous one in the room. Everyone else looks really comfortable and they're chatting away. It's not the case. I'm getting on a bit in years now, and I've been to plenty of networking events, and I can tell you that if you say to someone, I'm pretty nervous about being here, there's a good chance that the person you're speaking to will say the same back. If they're younger, potentially, because they've not been to that many. But like I say, I still get nervous going to networking events, and I'm getting on a bit in years. That doesn't change. But what I will say is the nervousness is more of an excited nervousness, because I know that there are opportunities here to get work. So the other thing which I did was to raise awareness was learned about content marketing and inbound marketing. I'm not sure if I've done. I'm trying to remember if I've done that on any of the live streams. I've probably mentioned it, but I don't think I've done a live stream that goes into it in any depth. So I may, I'll make a note of that to have a larger chat around content marketing. As I say, it's also known as inbound marketing, and essentially, quickly, is content marketing is about creating useful content. So if people are, how long does it take to design a logo? How many types of logo are there? What's the difference between CMYK and RGB? And if you've looked at my YouTube channel, it's full of that stuff. And what you're doing there is you're becoming a useful resource to people. And by being useful, you build trust with them because you're giving knowledge and you're helping them solve a problem. And the hopes there is that when they need a service that you offer, that because you've helped them out and they trust you a little bit, that they'll come to you when they need that service, and they'll contact you and say, hey, I'm needing a logo, I'd love to have a chat with you. And that's a slow, that can be a slow process. That can take 6 months to 3 years to build traction. It depends on how often you're creating the content all the time. I went all in on YouTube, and I did a video a week for 2 years. I've slowed down a bit. I'm only really doing the live streams right now, but I do want to get back into creating more videos because I know how valuable they are. And so it was actually my YouTube channel that took me from just having clients in local business networking groups to global clients. My first client outside of my city really was in the US. And that was through my YouTube channel. And it was also my biggest paying project at that time because I was seen now, because of the content, I was seen as an expert. And so I was able to increase my prices that reflected, the level of knowledge that I had. But even then, I was charging too little. But it was more than what I'd been charging before, and you just increase them up. So so I went all in on YouTube. Another thing that you can do is you could write blog posts, so for your website, have a blog on your website where you're answering, basically you're wanting to answer the questions that your ideal customer is asking. That's what you want. And then you want your answer to appear in the Google search. Because I've not really done much blogging or many videos for a while now, I've fallen down the Google rankings a little bit, but I do have I don't know if they're still there or not, but I had a couple of blog posts from my website and more than a few of my YouTube videos that when you type in specific search terms, they would appear at the top of page 1 on Google. And then, if you looked at how many search results there were, it'd be like, millions. And yet I was number 1. That Google was saying to the person who typed the question, this is the best answer to your question, because that's Google's job. Google's job is to deliver what it thinks is the best answer to the question that you've asked. And so that's a great feeling, and that gets a lot. You can imagine how many eyes that gets, and you can track where you're appearing, through the Google, your Google dashboard. You can go in and check the SEO, search engine optimization stuff, and see where people are coming from, how many people are searching, and it's a reason that I know that a lot of my viewers and a lot of the searches and stuff that go to my website are from India. It's like one of the biggest searches is India, and that that kind of was like, that surprised me. I would have thought, it would have been the UK, potentially the US, but it isn't. The UK is the biggest, but then the next one down, I think, is India, or it was. So creating content is another way to do that. but it's a slow journey. It's a slow burn. So, you're not going to get instant results with that because it takes time to build up traction inside like the Google algorithm or the YouTube algorithm that you're creating content daily, or not daily, but like regularly. And the one thing you'll notice is that when you do that and you get traction, is that if you take your foot off the gas and you stop writing blogs or you stop creating videos, the algorithms very quickly forget you, and you start to slip down and you don't appear in search results as much as you did before. And that's one of the reasons that I need to start creating edited videos again more regularly on YouTube, so that I start to pick up traction again, so that when people are searching for graphic design stuff, that my videos are showing in the suggested bar down the side. Right now, I don't know where they're showing up. I still get a lot of comments on my old videos, which is great. People are still finding them useful. And that's one thing I want to quickly mention, is that when you're creating content, you want to be creating what's known as evergreen content, which means it doesn't really date. So you're not talking about, so for example, I did a live stream on logo trends for 2022. In 2025, not many people are going to be interested in looking at logo trends for 2022 because they're wanting to be looking about what's coming. So those types of videos are great for getting viewers for a specific time span. But if you want people to continually be looking and watching your videos and finding them useful, they need to be topics that are answering questions that are always being asked. So, people are always asking, what's the difference between RGB and CMYK? How do you turn CMYK into a Pantone? What's the difference between a JPEG and a PNG? All of that stuff. These are basic questions that are always going to be asked. So by me creating content on that, I'm always going to get traction. I'm always going to get people visiting and looking at my videos. David's saying there's nothing wrong with being shy and everything right about it because it shows how much you care about you present yourself. Yeah, there is that. I think, there's chronic shyness that people can have, which is like, panic attack type stuff. But yeah, there is that thing of, if you get nervous about something or you're a little bit, shy about it, then it probably just shows that you care. Whereas a lot, from my experience, a lot of the people that are like walk into a room and they're full of ego and confidence, or it feels that they're confident. The underlying sort of maybe service or product may not be the best because they're covering that up with this whole false kind of confidence type thing. Not everyone, but I've had experiences of that where, I was like, wow, this guy's really got it all together and knows what he's talking about, and that sounds amazing. And then when you start to dig a little bit deeper, there isn't actually that much there. But on the flip side of that, what you can find is that the people who are quieter and don't shout about it, but they actually, they're like, they get super deep into their work and their attention to detail, and their work is just magnificent, or their product's really, really good, and you're just like, why are you not shouting about this? You're so good at what you do, or your product is amazing, but it's just that a little bit of reservedness. But by getting out there and actually meeting people and talking about it, then you will start to overcome that, and you'll be able to have that self-belief and the confidence, but in the right way, not in that sort of, let's call it second-hand car salesman way, where it's very over the top. You would do it in the right way that matched the quality of service that you have. Hey, Nicole, thanks for joining. Glad to catch you live on the stream too. So that's just a little bit about how I did it. So when it comes to portfolio, like online portfolios, and this is going to be, probably strange to hear in that I don't really have an in-depth portfolio at all, mainly because my work comes through my content. the the way that I get a lot of my work is through case studies. So I'll write case studies. I've got a couple of case studies on my website of projects I've done. And by case study, I mean full written case study. I'll bring it up actually. I'll bring up a case study so you can see what I mean. Case studies. And some of you may have seen this case study in video form. So let's see. When I put together a case study, it's not just, some people they call it case studies, and it's what I would say is more of just a portfolio of the designs. So it might have a paragraph saying this is work for client name, they wanted a new logo, and here's what we did. And it just shows the logo with some mock-ups. To me, that's not a case study. A case study should go into depth about the project itself. What was the problem? Why did that client come to you? What was it they were having issues with? So that as you're going through it, you can show that you're solving that problem through design. And I also talk about if we have any problems, or even if things go wrong, I will talk about that in the case study, because things do go wrong. Nothing's always perfect. And I never believe case studies that are like everything went brilliant and swimmingly and it was fantastic and nobody, I'm not saying people fall out with one another, but, it just never goes really, really smoothly. And for me, having that sort of honest touch that things didn't go according fully to the plan that we had at the beginning. We had this problem here. Here's what we did. We solved it. And this is what came out the other end of it. And what that does is that lets anyone who's thinking of working with you, they can read through the case study and really get a good idea and a good handle on how you work. And by doing that helps raise the awareness that you're not just a designer. You might be. Most people are looking for design skills, but if you can offer sort of problem-solving skills and like design thinking skills in and around that, then the person reading it may look at this even break logo and go, yeah, that's not for me. That's not the kind of thing that I'm looking for. And if you only have a portfolio with no words and it's just work, and that person goes, yeah, this isn't the kind of thing I'm looking for, they'll move on to the next person to see what their work's like. But if you can kind of talk through your problem solving, how you handled things, that has a lot of value. And even if somebody was like, that's not really the logo for me, but I can see that the reason that logo is the way it is due to the journey, the strategy, the thinking, and this is why this logo has turned out the way it has. I want to work with Call because I have these problems and I would love to see what comes out at the other end of that. You will never get that opportunity if you don't have the story of the project, And then as well, another key thing is to always get testimonials from clients. And you can see here I've included the video version of this case study as well. So it's just basically me talking through the project. But these work really, really well for me. Whenever I ask people, how did you find me? And they're like, oh yeah, found you probably through YouTube, went to your website, had a look around, saw the case studies and wanted to speak to you. So you may be, some people do choose designers purely based on how their work looks because it's a style that they like. But obviously, one of the things that I talk about with logo design is that sometimes the logo design that's created for the business or the brand isn't actually a logo that the business owner personally likes, but they understand that it fits the brand. So an uneducated potential client who's like, I like this type of logo, that's what I want for my business, will look at someone's website who's just got images and go, that's the style I want, and they'll get that logo style for their business. But from my perspective, that may not be the right style of logo for their business just because they like it. So having case studies on here will definitely improve your chances. Now, I've only got these 3. I've got a couple more, I think, on my YouTube channel, and this is a case of, I'm giving advice and how to do things, but I'm severely lacking in getting case studies. I've got case studies in draft form all over the place that I just haven't completed because I use the excuse that I'm too busy doing client work. But I know how important these are because these are what are bringing in the client work. So if I don't continue to put new case studies up, then I'm actually probably making it harder for myself, because I would probably win more clients if I had more case studies, because there's more to convince them that I'm the right person for them. Whereas a classic portfolio would be something like this, and this is why I've called this a portfolio page, and I have case study pages. So you would just have, here's what we did: some logo design, some branding, some printing. It was logo design and branding for, it's a local bar that a friend of mine owns, with some imagery, and that's it. There's nothing else there. And when you contrast that to something like a case study, which has imagery in it, but it's broken up with, the story. So that's for me, it's a great way to raise your profile with someone when they're looking through your website. And there's a point there if you have a website. But I just wanted to kind of touch on that as well. So let's jump over. Let me just check. Shane's asking, can I send a logo branding for review? It's a client job, not a personal project. Yeah, of course you can, Shane. Best way to do that now is to actually, I don't think you're, unless you've got a funny name on the Discord, is to join the Discord community. That's essentially now the only way really that I'm taking on reviews for the live stream. So, and it's also a way as well to post work and get feedback from other people. But if you join the Discord, and just, when you join, just pop a message into the general chat. What I'll do is I'll have a quick chat with you, and we'll see about getting you sorted. Okay. Oh, hey, Lise. I thought you said you couldn't make the live stream today. Oh, great to see you in here. That's awesome. And no, you haven't missed the logo review. I've not done that yet. As usual, I'm, talking for Scotland. So let's jump back to the website. So as I say, I've not, I use my website to get me work. I don't have a portfolio site, but I do know of portfolio sites. And I suppose, the 2 first ones, which I'll talk about, are the ones that most people will know, but I never assume that everyone knows that they're there. So the first one is Behance, which is an Adobe owned brand. But as far as I'm aware, you don't have to have an Adobe account. So you don't have to own any Adobe software in order to have a Behance account. You can sign up, I think, with, let's just check here. Oh, it's going to ask me to log in. So yeah, so you can sign up with a Google account or Facebook or, personal account. So you don't have to have an Adobe account. So this would be free for you to sign up, and you basically have your own account. I have an account on here with very little work in it. Let's see if I can. It's going to ask me to use my authenticator and stuff. So I'm probably not going to bother. If anyone's logged in and they're on Behance, they can have a look. But I really don't have much work on there at all. It's something which I think about all the time and go, I really should update my Behance stuff and add in work that I've done and all of this, but I just never get the time to do it. It's a terrible excuse, but I just never get the time to do it. And because I don't feel a pain point around it, because I'm not really, I'm not really struggling for work, there's no pain point for me to go in there and update that. But if we look at, so with Behance, people can go on and they can search for specific types of work and things. So if we say, we're mainly about logo design here. So you can type in logo design. You can see here there's a few things showing up here. We've got someone who's got their logo marks. Felix has got his logo marks here. Some really nice marks, actually. Really nice, simple marks, which are right up my street. And so this is just, this is a big list of marks. There's no, I'm sure he's probably got pages, actually. So let's see if, let's see what else Felix has got on his page. So Felix is quite prolific with his logo marks. You can see here he's got, his logo folio from 2019, but then he's pulled things together and created some volumes. So let's click on this one here. Really nice kind of old style illustration there. But this doesn't, so this is an example of the work looks amazing, but I don't know anything about this brand. I don't know what it's for. The Silicon Valley Venturer. I don't know what it's for. So the work's cool, and if I like the style and it's maybe going to suit a specific project, then great. But this is one of the main problems that I see with Behance and the next site, which is Dribbble, is that quite often it's purely visuals. There's no text. So I don't know, I don't even know if it's a real project. I don't know if it's a real client or if it's a self-initiated project to build up portfolio work. And for me, if I'm coming at this as a potential client, I'd like to know if it was a real client or it's not. It's the same when I ask you guys, if you're going to submit a logo for review, let me know whether it's for a real client or let me know if it's a self-initiated project, because the feedback is different then, because I know that there's different criteria. And when Shane left his comment there asking about leaving a logo for review, he said it was a client job and not a personal project, and that's really, really helpful. Let's see here. Henry's saying, I'm using Adobe Portfolio and they gave me the Lightroom app for free for a year, I think. I've actually got Portfolio is one of the ones that we'll have a quick look at. So that's I don't have experience of that, so it's cool that you've got experience of that, Henry. You might be able to type some other stuff into the chat. Sogger's saying, is it important to share my design on Instagram? Is it really work to reach the client? What do you think? Please do some tips for an editorial designer to get clients. We'll be touching on Instagram as well on this chat today. And then Lisa's asked the kind of the $6 million question. Are people getting much work through sites like Behance and Dribbble? I feel like it's mostly the creatives themselves who use those sites. We'll be talking about that as well. Everyone's asking questions, which I've got Post-it notes all the way along the bottom of my screen here with my sort of topics. And Henry's saying he's got the same thought too. It's very tough to get any kind of engagement there. It's a very, very tough crowd. Right, well, let's cover that. So I don't have any statistics. So you need to be careful about what I say. But what I do say is my point of view. So like I said, I don't have any stats. There might be stats out there on, how many people get client work from being on Behance and Dribbble. Now, I think larger companies, and when I say larger companies, I'm probably talking like Google, Apple, like Nike, massive brands who have big sort of brand marketing departments. The people in those departments, I think, will be very aware of Behance and Dribbble. And I think they will have people who will look on those platforms to find talented designers to work on their projects or become part of their team or whatever. But the majority of clients, the types of clients that I work with and that you will probably work with, probably haven't even heard of Behance or Dribbble. Now, I don't know what the sort of the search results kind of thing would look like. You know, so if I typed in, you know, logo designer Dundee, is it going to bring up Behance pages or portfolios of logo designers in Dundee? Or is it more likely to bring up the website pages of logo designers in Dundee who have websites? Rather than, and I do class websites differently to these portfolio sites. It's a different thing. So my guess would be, in terms of users, the majority of users of Behance and Dribbble, and probably Adobe Portfolio, are other designers looking for inspiration on their own designs and just checking out other people's work, you know, following them, giving them, you know, like in Behance, you can give, you know, appreciate their work. Because I know I do. I know I always like to have a, you know, when I've got a big deadline coming up, I'll procrastinate and jump onto Dribbble and Behance and just have a nosy around and see what people are up to. And there's some amazing work on there, absolutely amazing. But if it's other designers looking at that work, that's, you know, maybe, you know, I use, you know, subcontract work to designers when I get really busy. So I'm a designer looking for designers. So I suppose it could work that way. But really, in the main, we're all trying to find business clients, you know, and if they're not looking for, if they're not, they don't know about Behance or Dribbble, so they're not going to go and type in Behance.net or Dribbble. Whatever it is. They're going to more than likely use Google, or they're going to ask someone they know, hey, you got a logo done recently, who did your logo? You know, or do you know a graphic designer? That's generally what's going to happen. So I'm not saying that these sites are a waste of time. I think they're great showcases. But for me, I'd probably rather see you have a very simple, like WordPress site that maybe links, you know, you could even link to Behance. So, you know, you might have your portfolio link, but when they click it, Behance loads in. Or if, you know, and we'll be talking about WordPress later, it might be that if you've got a WordPress website, WordPress is really good because it's got a million plugins that you can use. There may be a plugin that will pull in, you know, your portfolio work from Behance so that it shows inside your website. But that's my thought, and it looks like some people are having that thought around those stuff, around that side of things as well. Shane saying, in submitting logo for review, would you like to see all the notebook rough work and the development of the logo? The more that you can share, Shane, the better sort of feedback I can give you, because I can see your thought process and how, where it's going. It's more difficult for me if I'm just given a logo, because then I'm just giving you feedback on how that logo looks and any information that you give me. But the more information you can give me along with other stuff, that's really, really useful. So that's, you know, Behance. Dribbble is very kind of similar. The one thing that I noticed with Dribbble, though, is that some people put up work in progress. So it may not even be finished final work. And I kind of like that. I kind of like that about being able to see work and then going back and seeing that project being more finalized. But, you know, again, if we click on this here, which looks like it's a logo, there's no information. There's nothing here. We've got a hire me button. I think there's a hire me button on oh yeah, I think there was a hire me button there. Yeah, so there's a hire me, button there. So it does make it very clear that you're, available for hire, which is good, I suppose. So again, if you like what you're seeing and you want that kind of style, then you can click on hire me, and I'm sure it puts you in contact with people. But if there is content, it's generally short, like this, one sentence or a couple of sentences, because I do feel that maybe more so than Behance, I do feel like Dribbble is an area to show off how good a designer you are to other designers. The work, most of the work on Dribbble is just, can be jaw-droppingly good. It's just so good. But again, how much of it is client work and how much of it is self-initiated work? So I kind of take some of it, going, well, yeah, I could probably do a really amazing looking logo if I didn't have any boundaries in place. But yeah, it's just so many talented people out there. And then, as Henry was saying, he uses Adobe Portfolio, which is kind of similar, I suppose. Maybe Henry can say what the difference is. Henry's saying that he said he saw some job vacancies that say having a Behance account is a plus. I wonder why that is. What kind of job vacancies was that? Was that for design jobs, Henry? I would imagine I'm guessing that was vacancies for designers in a design studio. In that, if it is that, then yeah, I could see having, a portfolio is useful. So he's confirmed that it was for graphic designers. And so that makes perfect sense, though, doesn't it? Because they're going to want to see. I mean, they've probably said it's helpful if you have a Behance website portfolio, but if I was applying for that and I had a Dribbble portfolio or an Adobe portfolio, I think that would be accepted just as much. I think they're just saying that because it's easier for them to view the work rather than someone emailing them with a PDF, or a bunch of JPEGs. When I was applying for design jobs, before the internet, I had to walk around with a massive physical portfolio and get on trains and drive places and open it up on the table. It was a very different world back then. So now it's people are looking for ease of use and people are applying for jobs all over the world, and it's much easier for someone who's hiring to be able to just open their web browser and go to your Behance portfolio. So I can 100% understand that. But that's companies looking to hire designers. And if that's what you're looking for, if that's your goal, if your goal is to be hired, as a designer in a design agency, then that's probably it's probably a good way to go, to have your Behance website all up to date and with all your best work, so that if you're applying for jobs, it's a great way for any, creative director or, agency owner to look through it and go, wow, this person's great. Let's get them hired. But when it comes to winning client work, I don't think it works that way. I don't think having a Behance portfolio is, going to be as beneficial as it would be if you were looking to get a graphic design job. So Adobe Portfolio is fairly, a little bit more scope inside there. So it's more like, I would say it's more like a website that you're creating. So you have, multiple pages. Let's have a look at one of them. So you can see here, this one's got like a bazillion projects down the side. And then they've got an about page. They've got, their CV. This works more like a website than just a. Oh, I didn't mean to click on that. They've got a newsletter which doesn't appear to be opening. But this is more comprehensive. So this, I would say, over Behance and Dribbble, this is probably better. If you don't have, you can see here, the plans for pricing. I think Henry said he got Lightroom for free for a year. But essentially these, this one here, the $52.99 a month, is essentially the full price for the full Creative Suite. And I would say, by the way, never ever pay the full price for the Adobe Creative Suite. You can always get it cheaper just by going to the, create an account, an Adobe account, and go to the live chat and just say, hey, I'm thinking about, signing up for the Creative Suite, but I was just wondering, what's the best deal that you can do? Or say to them, I'm trying to make my mind up whether to sign up to the Adobe Creative Cloud or to get the Affinity suite of software. Use that against them, and I guarantee you will get a much better price than $52.99 just by going on the live chat. They will give you a deal. And if you don't get a deal, don't give up. Just disconnect and reconnect, and then you'll get to speak to a different customer service person. And the next one will probably give you it if the last one didn't. That's what I've done in the past. When I've not felt they've been giving me a good enough deal, I've just ended it and then signed back in again, and then got a better deal from the next person that I spoke to. So this price here, I wouldn't take that as that's what you would pay. Definitely haggle with them a little bit. By the way, you might be seeing in the chat, there's some weird posts getting posted. Just ignore them. I'm sure it's just spam stuff. Lisa said that Adobe Portfolio seems to be Squarespace light, and that was the impression I got. It does look a little bit like Squarespace, and I've got Squarespace open here, and Squarespace is a site that I've used, and I've built a couple of sites on it. I built helping my sister build her website for her cake making business, and I've helped my partner build a site in Squarespace. Squarespace is good because it's hosting, and you can have appointment calendars, and you can sell stuff, e-com. If you want to do any merch or anything, it's all in one. It's an all-in-one bundle. You don't have to have different things. It's one price, and you can have your domain in there. And if you link your domain up, you can have it linked to Google. So you've got a domain, but it's linked to Gmail, so you then get access to Google Docs and all of that. So Squarespace is, if someone asks me, I want to build a website, would you recommend? It would probably be Squarespace or WordPress are the two that I recommend, because those are the two that I have experience of. I know that there are other website builders out there, but not anything that I've had much experience of. I've had some experience with Wix, but I found that to be pretty dreadful, especially from a search engine optimization point of view. I find it to be pretty rubbish. It's probably better now. I mean, this was a few years ago, but Squarespace is pretty good. It's not free. You will have to pay for that. So you would have to spend some money. But sometimes spending money in the right place is the better thing to do, rather than just looking at free options all the time, because sometimes you can limit yourself. But I understand if budgets are really low, then, and free is the only option you have, then just do with that what you can. We've got other sort of sites which are probably a more sort of Squarespace type thing. We've got Fabric, which has been around for a while. You can see their pricing here. And this basically works on projects, so you can have a certain number of projects and portfolios in there. I think Carbon Made is fairly similar as well. And these are so Fabric, Carbon, Adobe Portfolio, not so much Squarespace. Squarespace can be for any type of site, but these ones here are aimed specifically at being portfolio websites. So that's what they have built their platforms on, so that when you build your site on there, it's going to have the tools and things to make your portfolio look the best that it can, but it then may be lacking in sort of flexibility for adding other types of pages. I don't know, I've not used them, but things like having a blog on there, or having an appointment calendar, those sorts of things, it may not have. And so if you want to do that, then you'll probably want to look at WordPress. So WordPress itself, the actual software for WordPress is free and you can download it, but you will need to have your own website hosting. So you would have to pay for that, and you will have to have your own website domain name. So you can get fairly cheap web hosting, and you can, and web domain names aren't that expensive, but there is a fairly steep learning curve with WordPress. So it will be a lot of trial and error, but it does have a ton of flexibility. There are lots and lots of plugins that you can use that will help you build a really, nice, fully functional website with lots of different pages. And you can, like I say, add plugins to do nice things. You can turn, when people click on images, you'll get nice light box effects that, show your work off in the best way possible. But it will be a learning curve for you if you've never done anything like this. So this is WordPress.org. There is another version of WordPress, which is WordPress.com. And with this one, you build your website in your web browser, as you do with WordPress.org, but with this one, you don't have to install the WordPress software. You pay a fee and everything is in here, but you still get access to plugins, but the amount of plugins that you can access are more limited. You don't get access to as many as you do in WordPress.org, but it is more user-friendly. And that if at any point you want to move your WordPress.com website over, you can migrate it over to the .org version if you want more functionality, and they have a migration tool that will do that for you. So my website is built in WordPress, and it needs updated. I know I need to update my website, but by having it in WordPress, I've got access to, WordPress is built as a blogging platform. It was made for writing blogs and presenting blogs, but it evolved into a more fully fledged website based software. So more and more people have used it, and I think there's the amount of people that have their websites on WordPress now is huge. But one of the other things as well is that so I've now got plugins installed where people can book calls with me, so they don't have to leave my website. They don't need to go anywhere else. They can jump on. They can say where they are in the world, set their time zone. They can see where I have availability. So March 24th, and then they can pick a time, and then they can put in their details and pay me. So that's one thing as well. I'll say is that someone has to pay me before they can book a call in my calendar. I don't let them book in my calendar and then pay me later because they're blocking out time in my calendar. So in order for someone to block time in my calendar, they need to pay me up front. So that's just something to, that if you're going to have that option. Some people don't do that, but that's for a full consultation. I do also have, like 15-minute discovery calls. So I have another calendar for that, and they can go in and book, and it just books it into my calendar. They don't have to pay for anything up front. That just books in the 15 minutes for me to find out a little bit more about them. Gifted Academy saying, what about Coraflot? I did see there's a huge list of sites. I hadn't heard of it before. You're mentioning it, so I'm assuming that it's pretty good. There's only so many, if I did a search for best portfolio websites for designers, you're probably going to come up with like 50 results. So, it's there's only so many things you can do. So this one here, so I've never looked at this. This is brand new to me. So you got two questions here: make a portfolio or hire a designer. So this is obviously then targeting as soon as you join. If I was a business owner looking to hire, then obviously I would click on hire a designer. And then you can set up your job ad, and obviously it's in this site, which is fully purposed out with designers, so it's a good place to be. But and then you can make a portfolio as well. So, but it's not one that I've heard of. But again, I'm not in that space. I'm not looking to create a portfolio website, so I've not done a lot of looking into all the different ones that are out there. It would be good to know if you actually use this yourself, Gifted Academy. And I'm saying Gifted Academy, but you've got an X there, so I don't know how to pronounce that. I don't know if you use this site and you really like it. It'd be good to kind of find out a little bit more about that. It looks a bit weird, like in terms of like usability. It's kind of got these double scroll bars going on, and I'm one for, like, when I go on a website, I like to kind of know where things are in general. And this one kind of threw me off a little bit. But interesting. But yeah, this looks more like a sort of, people looking to hire designers. So this is more design agencies by the looks of it. Again, what we're talking about today, my main focus is talking about raising awareness to get clients who want design work, not really about raising awareness to be hired, because that's a different thing. You're going to be presenting yourself in a different way if you're looking to be hired for a design job than you would if you're looking to be hired by a company to do their latest brochure. It's a different way of marketing yourself. There are similarities, but you're going to be using different language and pushing yourself forward in a different way. So when I came on to do this live stream, it wasn't thinking about how to get hired. That would be a different topic for another day. But it looks like Coraflot is more about putting yourself on there to potentially be spotted by an agency to be hired. So where's my notes here? So someone asked about Instagram. I know a lot of designers that do pretty well on Instagram, but I wouldn't say that Instagram was a portfolio website or a portfolio site. Obviously, if you look at all the work together, then it is sort of a portfolio. But I think the way that the people that I know that are using it well, it's they're using it much more from a social perspective, a social media perspective, in raising awareness of themselves. What I will say is it's probably going to get more eyes on your work from business owners than maybe Behance or Dribbble. But again, it's an assumption on my part. I don't have the data for that. It's always good to have the data, but I would just say, because people are on their phones and they're on Instagram looking at their friends' stuff and that they might just type in, oh, actually I'm looking for logo designs and stuff, and they'll just type in, they'll follow a logo design hashtag or something, and then work will come up. So I think there's probably more chance that you'll be discovered using Instagram. But in terms of sort of, it being a site for case studies and, portfolio, it's not built for that. But in terms of findability, if that's a word, I think it would probably be pretty good from that side of things. Again, I'm not a massive Instagram user. I think I'm of just sort of a generation that's, I use social, but my way of finding business is slightly different, and it's not front of mind for me when I'm doing work. When I finish work and I finish a project, I don't put it on Instagram and I don't put it on Twitter and I don't put it on Facebook. Actually, I'm actually thinking of deleting my business Facebook page, because I don't get any good inquiries from that. It's not really where my target audience hangs out. And so it's just a distraction. So I'm probably going to remove my business page from Facebook. I just don't really want to be there. Not from I hate Facebook or I hate Meta or whatever they're called now. I just, the inquiries I get through Facebook are, the budgets are, not very good, like £50, like $50 budgets and stuff, and it's not the type of work that I do, so it's actually a distraction for me. So I'll be taking that off of there. I don't know when you joined the stream, Gifted, but you might have to watch the start of the stream. I talked about how I get clients at the start of the stream. So if you want to go back once the stream's finished, or I don't know if you can actually skip back through the stream whilst it's going, but I talked about how I do business networking, and how I used content marketing to get my clients. That's the pretty much the main 99% of my efforts go into content marketing and networking to get my clients. What have I got here? So one thing which we had a chat about in the Discord group the other day, when we had our Ask Me Anything session last week, we got chatting around LinkedIn, and how I felt that LinkedIn was being very underutilized by a lot of designers, probably because they think it's boring and it's not where they should be. But at the end of the day, LinkedIn is a business platform, and it's business people that you want to be getting in front of. And when people are on LinkedIn, they're in a business mindset. They are there for business, so they're thinking about their business. So if you are on LinkedIn and you're sharing, and this is where my content marketing journey comes back in, is that if you create a LinkedIn account and you start sharing your work, and not just as a portfolio thing, that's not what LinkedIn's for. Don't just, be saying, oh, I've created this awesome looking business card, or I've created this awesome looking logo. You need to kind of give some background to it, give a lesson or something, talk about logos, why are logos important. So talk about why are logos important, but then share an example of, here's a logo I did for X company. So, expand on it. Don't use it as a portfolio site, because people will ignore it. It's not why they're there. But what I did was I've had a LinkedIn account since 2004, but never really used it, because back then it was like a digital business card website. But now it's become, it's a fully fledged social site. It's a social media site, but it's business orientated. And we can see here, actually, we've got Matt Davies is at the top of this, top of my news feed here. And Matt's a great guy. He's a brand strategist, and he was doing a workshop today, which I completely forgot about, which I meant to sign up for, about brand archetypes, and that was through Level C. The Level C training organization, which was started by Marty Neumeier, who wrote The Brand Gap and Zag, and that's Andy Starr down here, who's Marty's partner, business partner, and I've done one of the courses, I've done one of the certifications for brand specialists with them. It was amazing, really great experience, but they get a lot of their target audience are designers who want to become, or mostly designers who want to become brand strategists. There are other people who are not designers who want to become brand strategists, but there's a lot of designers who are looking to add brand strategy to their bow. And they're finding most of their target audience on LinkedIn. It's designers finding them. But at the same time, a lot of the designers that I'm following on LinkedIn are getting a ton of work from it. And there's one gentleman who is using LinkedIn amazingly well as a designer, and that's Dave Officer. And Dave has a brilliant sense of humor, but he's also an amazingly talented designer and illustrator. But the way he's made himself stand out is by doing quirky videos, asking people to submit, 6 random photographs and then give him maybe a title, and then he would have to make those into like a cohesive poster or image. And so here he's talking about how he's been learning 3D design, so he's now doing 3D stuff. Super talented guy. His work's amazing, but the way he presents it, like the text that he uses, I don't know why my internet's going so slow, like the stuff that he talks about in here is really, really entertaining, but you also learn stuff as well. So I'm always reading Dave's posts because I always learn something, in how to present and how to engage. It's very difficult to get a lot of engagement on LinkedIn, but if you look at Dave's posts, he's got 50 comments on that one, 69 comments on that one, 41 on that one, hundreds of reactions. Some of his posts do amazingly well, and he gets like stupid amounts of comments on it. But he's just one designer who's knocking it out of the park on there. The way I approached it was I repurposed my YouTube videos and uploaded those in a square format with the title, the video, and then I burned in my captions and I put those in there and I gave a lesson and then the video was there. And I decided that I was going to post on LinkedIn once every day. Just once every day, talking about, what I'm working on that day maybe, or, something, a lesson I'd learned in the business. And just 3 weeks in, I landed a client. I'd never met them before, never heard of them before, but they contacted me and said, I've been seeing your stuff on LinkedIn. Really interesting. Love the way that you present the knowledge that you have. I'm needing my logo refreshed. I need to, I'm changing the angle of my business and I want to do that. And, I'd like to have a chat with you. And then I got another client a few days after that as well. And that's just through consistently posting stuff on LinkedIn. And like I say, it's a business platform, so it's much easier to actually work with the people that contact you on there. And I think it's underused. I don't think enough people use LinkedIn there. So let's see. Yeah, Lise, you said you were going to make an account on LinkedIn. So I told everyone who's in the Discord community that if you don't have a LinkedIn account, you need to make one. And when you make one, send me a connection. Send me a connection request. You can just go to my profile. It probably won't show it to me because it's my own profile, so I don't want to connect with myself. But there will be an option, probably follow. But then there should be a more button, and if you click on the more button, it should give you an option to connect with me rather than just follow my page. But again, I've not, like YouTube, I've been so busy, I've not actually posted much onto LinkedIn. I've kind of fallen off the wagon a little bit with that, and I need to get back into it. And the cool thing is that one of the reasons I've been really busy this week and last week is that I've taken on an employee, Fife, and Fife started working with me on Tuesday, so it's only been a couple of days, but we're already talking about creating, and most of you will know, carousels. So usually square images, multiple images that you can swipe through on Instagram, but you can also use those on LinkedIn. And people find them really useful. And if you do them well, they can be really informative in just a few slides. And so Fife is helping me by going through my content, and we're going to start creating, content for LinkedIn and Instagram. So you should start to see my presence get a little bit more on these platforms. And that should hopefully raise awareness again, and I will hopefully start to see an increase in the amount of inquiries and leads that come through to my website. One of the other things that you can do to raise awareness and get people to contact you is to create a lead magnet. So that can be, a useful piece of information. What makes a good logo, something like that, and then you can use that lead magnet. So let's say you create a carousel for LinkedIn, and it's like top tips to a great logo, and it's little bits of information at the end of that on the last slide. What you can say is for a more in-depth look at what you need to do, you can download my ebook, and you can get them to click on that and download the ebook. Now, some people would in order to get the ebook, they will ask you for your email address. I tend not to do that because for me that puts a barrier up, and people are, you're not getting my email address because you're just going to, you're going to just spam me with do you need design services? So the best way to do it, and the content marketing way to do it, would be to let them download the ebook for free, but then at the end of the ebook, you would then have a call to action that says, book a free 15-minute discovery call to have a chat about your business branding or something like that. Because by that point, someone has liked your carousel enough to download your ebook to then take the time to read your ebook. So they're in your capture zone at that point. And if you can then utilize that capture zone to get them to book a call with you, that just takes it to the next step, and hopefully you can have a conversation about work. Not everyone's going to do it. Not everyone's going to download the ebook, and not everyone's going to book a call. The percentages of seeing your carousel. Let's say 100% of the people see your carousel. The amount of people who actually read the whole carousel might drop to 50%. The amount of people that download your ebook might drop to 5%. And then the amount of people that actually click on book a call might be 0.2%. The percentages really drop. So in order to have enough people book calls, you need to have as many people seeing your content as possible, so that 0.2% is actually, 20 people. How many of you would be happy to have 20 people send you an email saying, hey, I'd love to have a call with you to discuss some work? I'm pretty sure we'd all be happy to have 20 people, because I know that many of us, not so much myself, but I know when I started, if I got one inquiry a week, maybe a month sometimes, I'd be over the moon. So having something that can generate leads like that is a great thing to have. And so you want to take time with it, and you want to make sure it's really good. And that's another thing that I'll be working on with Fife, is creating a good lead magnet that's going to show people that I know what I'm talking about, and make them want to book a call with me. So that's another way to raise awareness. What I'm doing right now, live streams, is a way to raise awareness. But you're going, again, you need to have an audience. So just jumping onto YouTube and launching a live stream, you probably won't get that many people tuning in because they don't know who you are, and the algorithm hasn't pushed you out there. So you do need to build up an audience first, and the best way to do that is through the social platforms. So build an audience, whether it's through TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Build an audience on there. But what I would say as well is don't spread yourself too thin. Try to focus on one, maybe two platforms so that you can dedicate your time to posting consistently. And if you're going to post on multiple platforms, you shouldn't be posting the exact same text on both because they're all different. Like I say, LinkedIn's business, so you should be having a more businessy, as much as Dave has a fun chat, he often gives business lessons in terms of design lessons. Whereas Instagram and stuff is much more social and informal. So you would talk differently there. It can be the same lesson, the same message, but just use slightly different language. Don't use the same thing because you don't want people who are following you on LinkedIn and on Instagram to be saying the same thing twice. They'll unfollow you on one of them because if it's the same stuff you're posting on both, why have you clog up both feeds? They could just unfollow you. So if you make yourself interesting on both, then they will follow you on both as well. Abdul's asking, will it be good if I post my design on LinkedIn as like Dribbble or Behance? I wouldn't use LinkedIn that way. I wouldn't use LinkedIn to just be posting portfolio stuff. What you can do is in your profile section, you can actually have featured stuff. So you can add in, you can add a post, you can add an article, you can add media. So what you could do here is you could actually add in some of your best work so that if someone reads one of your posts on LinkedIn and they're like, oh, I want to find out a little bit more about what this person can do, because you list your skills and your history and your experience. So I think, can I view... used to be able to view your profile like as a member of the public, but I don't know if I can do that here. I think it's just going to show me the page I'm already on. Yeah. But you can kind of go through the different categories. So I wouldn't advise that you just, that you're in your news feed in here, don't just be posting, I've just done this business card, I've just done this logo. That's not going to work for you on there. Try to be a little bit more informative with stuff. And then you're asking, and who will be the best person for a designer to connect to? Other designers or business holders? I'd say connect with both. Connect with other designers because we all learn from one another. And also by connecting with other designers, you'll see what they're posting and you'll see what's getting really good engagement. So like when I mentioned Dave, I can look at what's working for Dave and say, well, he's getting a ton of engagement on this post. I mean, Dave gets tons of engagement on a lot of his posts, but he has he's just cracked how to get attention on LinkedIn, and it's really well done. I'm in awe of what he's been able to do on LinkedIn. So you can see here that Dave and I have got 72 mutual connections, and I would probably hazard a guess that a large majority of those are other designers who are following Dave. But yeah, you want to connect with business owners as well as designers. And a quick tip as well, if you connect with someone on LinkedIn and they accept, so let's say you send out a connection request and they accept, please do not instantly follow that up by messaging them and saying, hey, are you looking for any design work? Do you need any design work done? It's the worst thing. It's a cardinal sin on LinkedIn. Happens all the time to me. Usually I'll accept someone, and 99% of the time it's web developers and web designers. And they'll send me a message saying, hey, Carl, looked at your stuff. I think we've got a lot in common. It'd be great to connect. And I go, oh, that's an interest. They've at least written a personal message to me. Click connect. And within minutes, I'll receive a wall of text, which is just like, hey, we are such and such web developers. We do PHP and WordPress and all that. And then I just instantly block them. You wouldn't do that to someone in person. You wouldn't just walk up to them and go, hey, and just instantly give them this wall of, hey, we do this, da 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 da. It's of no interest to me, so don't do it on LinkedIn. Sorry, I got a little bit not ranty there, but it's the worst thing ever. And I don't know why after 20 years of LinkedIn being around, possibly longer, 25 years, whatever, people still do that. It just doesn't work. It just does not work. You want to be building relationships. So if you connect with someone and you send them a message, just ask them, how's business? What do you do? Tell me about your business. I'd love to learn more. Same as what I said at the start of this live stream, when you're networking in person, the best thing you can do is be a listener and take interest in the person's job and in them, and have those conversations for a little while before you try to sell your own services to them, because by then you'll have built up a relationship. It's the same on LinkedIn. It's the same on most platforms, not just LinkedIn and not just business environments, but most places. So yeah, so don't just do that. All right, we already missed out doing David's logo review last time, so I don't want to miss out this time. So just checking my notes here. So the last post-it note that I've got written down is, ideally what you should be doing when you when you catch someone's attention, when you've managed to get them into your, they're on your radar, is you should be getting them to go to your website. And at the end of the day, that's my recommendation to you, is that you should have your own website and a portfolio on your own website, something that you own. Because all of these things, Behance, Dribbble, Adobe Portfolio, Fabric, Carbon, Instagram, even Squarespace to an extent, are other people's platforms. They can change the rules. They can, they could do what they want. Squarespace could just decide one day, we're not doing websites anymore. We're only going to sell clothing. It's ridiculous, but they could do that. They could turn around and just completely change the rules. So it's never a good idea to only have a Behance portfolio or only have a Dribbble portfolio. My recommendation would be to have a website of your own, built in WordPress. Squarespace won't start selling clothing. Squarespace is a safe place to build a website. But for me, the reason I have a WordPress.org, like a website that I own, so it's on my own hosting, it's my own domain name, which I paid for, and I control everything in my website. Yes, WordPress updates all the time and stuff, but it's still WordPress, and then I can make tweaks to it. I'm in control of all of the content on my site and what it says and what I can say. So you might be on Behance, you might be on Dribbble, and they'll probably have regulations and terms and conditions about what you can post and what you can't post. On my own website, I can post and say whatever I like because it's my domain, it's my land, it's my digital land. And there is the saying, never build your house on another person's land, because it's their land and they can do what they want with it. So if your house is there and they decide to sell that land, you lose your house. And it's the same perspective when it comes to your digital home. I wouldn't want to risk having my digital home built in a space where the owner of that space can do what they want. Because one day you might wake up and you don't have a home anymore online because they've just decided we don't want to be, Adobe might go, we don't want to run a portfolio website anymore, we're closing it down. And then you're going to have to kind of set your site up someplace else. So you should always have your own website, even if it's simple, a couple of pages. You should always have a website, and you want to try to gather people's email addresses so that you then have a direct line to their inbox, not to spam them, but just so that you have a way to contact customers directly. I have my monthly newsletter, and that's just a way for me to just get into people's inboxes once a month, let them know that I'm here, give them some useful information that they can use to improve their brands or their branding, and I do ask, I do have an offer in there at the bottom for my Power Hour consultation service that says, if you're needing help, then you can book a Power Hour with me. And I have had people use that. I've had people from the email book and pay for a Power Hour, which has then led on to other work. Not a huge amount of numbers, but it's more than I would have got if I didn't have an email connection with them. So there's a lot of things you can do to, build a portfolio. We talked a little bit about raising awareness. That's probably going to be the most difficult thing to do, is the awareness raising. But by far the best way to do that, from my experience, is through the content marketing side of things, of just sharing helpful advice and content and becoming, and then other people will share that. They'll say, this is really useful, I'm going to share this, and they'll retweet it, or they'll reshare it on Facebook or Instagram. And that's a way to get known. But it's not easy, I never pretend that these things are easy, and they're never quick, but dedication and commitment will get you places. It might not seem it sometimes. It might be hard work, and you might not have clients for periods of time. But I know, not just from my own experience, but I know many people, many of them are my clients, who've all used the content marketing way of raising awareness, and they're all doing well through that method of marketing. By being an expert in their own, and they're all in different industries. They're not designers. One of them sells timber buildings, and they're million pounds, turnover. Before they were doing content marketing, it was maybe a quarter of that. But when they implemented content marketing and started to show people, give out advice on what makes a good timber building, how the type of foundations you should have, the type of materials you should have, all this stuff that people are looking for. So I'm thinking about having a timber building or a summer house built in my garden, but I don't know anything about summer houses. So they get onto Google and they start asking questions about summer houses. And my client, their website comes up for all the answers. So if they are the one that comes up with all the answers, and you're looking for a summer house, who are you going to buy one from? Probably the one that has all the answers, but also has a very good product. And they're not the cheapest. They're fairly expensive, but because they're they show knowledge and about their craft and how well it's made, people pay those prices. So that's probably the easiest way. Not the easiest. That's not the easiest. The most, I don't want to say guaranteed, but let's say effective, from the experience I've had of people who've used content marketing and stuck with it. It's been one of the most effective methods of doing that. And I've mentioned this very briefly in the Discord group, and that is that I am in the process. I don't know how long it's going to take. I think I stupidly said it would be May or June, and I think it was Lee's that went, oh, that's, I don't know whether they said it was optimistic or not, but it probably is optimistic. But I am will be starting a mentoring course for designers on this type of thing. communication skills, how to raise awareness, how to find better clients, pricing, and content marketing. All of that stuff will be in that mentoring course. It's very early days. I'm still putting it all together, but I will announce it obviously when it's ready. But honestly, content marketing is just, it was a game changer for me. I will literally say it changed my life. And I started my YouTube channel as part of my content marketing journey. So if I hadn't been doing content marketing, I would probably still be trying to do, I don't know if I would even have a business, to be honest, because I was struggling. But content marketing just completely changed it around. And I now have the pleasure of speaking to you guys who are, sitting, watching, listening to me. That would never have happened without that. And if I can do it, anyone can do it. And I mean that most sincerely. If I can do it, anyone can do it. Someone who's shy, didn't like speaking in front of people, didn't like getting their photo taken, definitely didn't like going in front of video, then you can all do it. 100%. You can all do it if you put your mind to it. So let's move off of that and let's give David's logo a bit of a critique. So I'm hoping everyone takes part in this. Everyone that's still here, would love to get your feedback. We're here to help. We're here to help David with this logo. So let's read some of the notes here. So first off, it's a fictitious company. This isn't for a real client. It's a self. David's trying to build up a portfolio. He's trying to learn logo skills, and to be honest, he's been doing really well with it. So it's based in the affluent South Kensington district of West London, and the project is for self-educational and portfolio purposes. So the brand name is Olympian Letting. It's property letting. Target audience is wealthy male young professionals, 21 to 35, who work in the city. For example, investment. What we're saying there is young people with money. Brand personality, strong, swift and secure. Brand qualities, opulent and energetic. So design notes. So the concept combines a big house, with a running athlete to emphasize the brand name and personality. In the design, the head is a duplicate of the door to pair intelligence with entrance. The signature utilizes penumbra flare, a geometric sans serif. I wanted the style to suit the construction of the iconic mark. Furthermore, my eye was drawn to the sharp angle of the M. When I was undertaking a mind map, one of the phrases that appeared was Mount Olympus, which is linked to the brand name, of course, Mount Olympus, mountain, sharp M. The tagline is written in Lato, or Lato, I will say Lato, and was chosen to be a simple yet sturdy companion to the signature. The signature and tagline are blue, an industry favourite which symbolises strength and security, and therefore applicable to the brand personality. The iconic mark is red. The colour has many passionate properties, with one being speed, which provides a link to the brand name. Red and blue are also two of the colours featured in the famous Olympic rings. For the alignment, the mark is aligned to the left of the whole design in the lockup, in the stacked lockup. In my research, I learned that focal objects are often positioned in the left third in sports photography to emphasize movement. In my case, this gives the athlete room to run into. Furthermore, moving can be spun to represent moving in, a phrase commonly used when discussing accommodation. In the horizontal lockup, the iconic mark is this time aligned to the right of the signature and the tagline. I'd given some feedback on positioning of marks in our Discord, in our AMA, weekly AMA. Initially, the mark was sat to the left of the text, but I felt that there was a clash there, almost as if the athlete was being obstructed in its movement, which I had an issue with. It's for this reason that the mark is now on the right. Summary, I believe this design appropriately signifies strength, speed and security, which harmonise with the brand name and personality, and for these reasons suitable to the target audience, wealthy male young professionals. So that's quite the description. I think David, you posted in the Discord that you were quite enjoying this part, like the summarizing of what the logo means, and almost the storytelling element. And you are definitely getting the hang of that. This is by far the most sort of descriptive that you've given, but that I've been given so far for any of the logo reviews. And it's good to kind of build that up. It gives a much deeper kind of lesson as to what it is that you're trying to build, which then helps give more focused feedback on the logo itself, which is always helpful. You can never have enough information. There's never too much. The more you have, because you could always throw information away, but not having certain pieces of information can mean that you're making assumptions. So it's good that you've been able to do that. Lisa's just posted there's no puns yet in the chat. No puns in this, which is quite serious for David, who's a bit, is always cracking puns. So anyway, let's take a look and see. Let's see if we think that what David's come up with actually matches the notes. So I deliberately put this out the way. So this is now I know you've got the inline version, but I want to kind of, this is the one that came first, so I'm presuming that this would be like the main primary one. So I will be honest with you and say that I was expecting, from reading this, I was expecting something a bit different to this. I don't know, I felt that it may, I don't know if I expected something that was a bit more, I want to say kind of Greek looking, like Olympian, Olympus type stuff. I get that you've got someone running, but I think, and you've got, you've tried to accommodate the door and the different shapes, the elements of the house. I think there's too much going on in this, and it almost, I don't know, it gives me the feeling that this is almost like a concept sketch where you haven't finalized the runner. It's like, oh yeah, I'm going to want someone there. It's very blocky. And I know what you've said about the door and stuff like that, but sometimes you can start to throw in everything, including the kitchen sink, and it starts to look a little bit contrived. So I'm not entirely sure about this running man. And I know as well you mentioned that you've got him here on the left in the first third to give space to run into, but this now opens up a big empty block, which to me feels like there should be something here. I know he's got space to run, but I think as well what it is even in the running pose, this leg is very straight, so it looks like he has stopped. I would probably have wanted, if someone's running, I would probably have wanted this. I would have wanted this leg to be. I'll use a different color so that it shows up. A color that's not actually on here. Probably more in a, like they're ready to push off. I don't know what someone's legs look like when they're running, but not flat down. More of an energetic pose, and the ball. And I know it kind of takes away from the house and stuff, but you would want, nobody runs bolt upright. I think you would want some. If you want that speed and athleticism, you want that pushing off, from there. And I know that this kind of messes up your house thing here. There may be, I don't know if there's a way to get that in there. I don't know if because his arm's up here. That's more like a roof shape, but I think it needs to have that pushing off. there. So I think I get what you're going for, but I think it needs more. The word I want to think of is dynamism. It feels very stuck. Cracking drawing there. It just feels very upright and kind of stilted. And I know it's about house and accommodation, and you want that to be upright and solid, but there's something about this, it's weird. And this kind of looks like a little Tom and Jerry mouse hole here, like that Jerry would run into when Tom the cat was chasing him. So I'm not finding this to be the best shape for this. I wonder if I can ungroup that. Is this all? Can I? All right, so I can select those. Even that actually helps, because the body's now forward. You can feel the weight planting down on that straight leg, as if he's running and then he's going to push off from that leg onto the other leg. It does make, because you've got this white gap here, it does make the sorry, I'm just going to get rid of this grey block just now. It throws off this peak, but maybe you have to get rid of the peak, but then we start to get into swastikas a little bit, don't we? So we don't want to be doing that. But the movement, I think movement and potentially just a little bit more of a tiny bit more, I don't know if I want to say realism on this, but it just feels very, very sharp. And I know you've said you've got the M for the mountain. And funnily enough, I did a logo concept a while ago for a holiday, a travel company called Midas. And I had the same thinking as you. Midas, like very kind of Greek type character, and I think I may have used a very similar font to you because of the M that's in there. So I get why, that is. One thing I will say about the character is it does remind me of when you think about the Olympics and how they, every 4 years that they'll have, they create the icons for each of the different sports. So you'll have skiing and running and swimming. And this looks like it could be, almost part of a series of different icons for each of the sports. And this one would be running. So it did give me that feeling about it, but I'm not sure that it's right for where it is here. So I'm just going to put this back to where you had it. So that's my thoughts on the symbol. In terms of the text, there are some things which aren't quite right. You've got really tight tracking and really tight kerning on this, and then really loose on the letting, and it doesn't quite work together. I know that you've got letting so that it lines up and everything. It lines up with this line here and lines up with that line there. And obviously, I'm just gonna. These are all grouped. Right, so I'm just going to move this over here. So I'm going to have to group these because that's going to, and then that's going to group. That's going to group. I've not looked at the chat yet. I'm going to look at the chat in a second just to see what other people are saying. But what I want to do, so I was just going to basically move them apart a little bit. I'm just going to auto align at the minute. Why is that not letting me auto align? maybe because they're all grouped shapes. I don't know. But it just feels really tight. And I would like to see it because it's not live text. I'm just going to do this really quickly. I would like to see sort of more of a bit of more breathing space. And then obviously now, you know, letting doesn't line up. And then if you were going to line it up, you either have to make the letting bigger, but I also think that letting is the tracking on letting is too much. If it was a bigger word, a longer word, then you know, and it was sort of smaller and you had more letters, then you might get away with it. But just because of the size that it is, you know, I don't know if, you know, if that's going to completely off balance it. It's a tricky one, and the thing is, because it's a fictional brand, you could have kind of solved that a little bit by just changing that to Olympian letting agents or something, so you can add on another word and you don't need as much tracking between the letters then. And it could also be, you know, it could also be smaller. If I just do letting agents, and I'm not going to use, I don't think I've got the font that you have, so I'm just going to jump to my usual and just go there. What is that? Right, let's just get rid of that block just now. And why is that? Oh yeah, because it's all grouped as well. Get rid of that. Paste that back in. So it's separate. And then if we just if we go to the tracking and just see, you know, how wide do we need to go? I don't know what the tracking is on that, David. I don't know if you've got the tracking in there. It's like, feels like it's maybe about 400 or 500. But if I make this text the same size as that text, let's get this L roughly the same, and then put this up here. So the tracking we can get to probably around about, what, 185. Not as a case in point, I very rarely go above 200 unless, you know, I have a good reason for doing so. But for me, I know this isn't the same font as down here. You've got different G's and stuff, and it's slightly lighter. Let's go semi-bold. The Olympian definitely needs to be a bit more breathing space on that. This could actually come in a little bit. And then you would, you know, this would come out to there. One of the things as well, you saw there where that was lined up. You see the, now it's going to not do it, is it? So if I grab this anchor, if I pull this out, now it's not doing auto align. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is, if I bring this here, if I line up the edge of the L and the edge of the red line, you want the O to be just going slightly past, just for an optical thing. What you don't want is you don't want the L and the red line to be at this bit. You don't want it going directly to, you know, to line up with the edge of the O, because it looks weird. It will then look like the L and the O are projecting past. You want to have that just ever so slightly, maybe not even as much as this, but just a touch past it. It's the same with if I put a guide along the bottom of the text here, you can see that the O projects below the baseline, and the same with the point. Let me zoom in here. The same with the point on the M. It projects ever so slightly below the baseline, as does this. And you kind of want, so this amount of space here is what you want to have up here. So if my guides are locked right now, 2 seconds, guides, unlock. So you'd probably want this to be round about there. So it's projecting that much past the same as it is there. And it just means that optically everything looks like it's in the right place on there. But let me just get that and then go all the way back. Well, what I can do actually is I can just revert. Promise I'm going to look at the text, the chat now. But I just wanted to compare very quickly the text. Now I know I haven't kerned that properly, I haven't tracked that properly, but it's just to show that it needs a little bit more space at the top, and the letting agent. And I know it's not letting agents, but I've only put that in there just to try to bring the tracking in, because otherwise it's too large. Right. Okay. So there's not that many comments, so it's not too bad. So David's saying, yeah, he gets a bit more dynamic. I know it's not, it's easy for me to say, can you make it more dynamic? But it's like, well, how do I do that? I've built this figure to mean these things. How can I bring dynamism into that? And one thing we haven't done yet is I've unfairly not shown the other lockup of it, which is this one here. I kind of like it more on its own. Inside here, I can see the house, and but again, I think if it was even inside the circle, if it was the body element was leaning forward, I think it would just give that element of a bit more speed. A bit more like there's running and motion through the logo. I think that's the thing that's maybe missing from this. It's because it's so upright, your eye actually goes up through the figure. It makes it not that natural to read the logo, because your eye, when you're reading things, tends to go in a Z fashion. So if I do it, you have to do it in reverse, don't it, for you guys. But if you're doing it in a Z, it's the same as when you're looking at websites. People will read websites across the top. Their eye will move from top right over to mid left or bottom left, and then it will go back across again. You need to have your eye going through, and I know that you said that you wanted it to look like you're moving through the logo. I think, well, in order to make your eye actually want to do that, that's where I think bringing in this forward momentum to it would actually work. Now, just looking at that, now I know that triangle is now kind of off kilter, but you may be able to. There's some extra points in there. What am I looking for? Path. Simplify. Right, so let's go. Let's get rid of those extra points. So you could kind of play around to try to bring, so that I've got curves and stuff in there now, but just trying to bring I've messed that up. Put some curves in there. Just so you've still got the house element of it, and it moves forward in there. So let's see. So it looks like, when Just going through. I'm just going back through the comments, and Lisa said, "Be careful about the arms looking like a swastika when leaning the." Yeah. So obviously, yeah, I spotted that as well. You run into that issue as well, and it's just a thing. It's that the staticness of it. It doesn't feel like there's flow going through it. Lisa, how does this work when zoomed out? It's a pretty large mark now. Yeah, I mean, so we can kind of zoom like all the way out. It kind of holds its form quite well. I mean, at smaller sizes, it actually looks like he's, where there's no text, because it doesn't have this bottom line in the symbol, it looks like he might be jumping over something that, there's like being left on the street and he's like running over it. Does it look like a house, or does it just look like, he's stepping over something? Here, having this underline definitely helps to emphasize that, and the name again obviously helps to emphasize that as well. Now I'm not one where the logo has to completely represent what it is that the business is for. I'm trying to do there, but visibility wise, like say you can see because it's line work, you can see it at quite small sizes. I mean, I've got that really tiny on my screen, and I can still make out what that is. I can still read well here in the top one, the Olympians starting to go together a little bit. It's starting to become sort of more of a solid, like a blue block. This one here, where I've spaced it out, you can still see Olympian clearly, and then it's the letting bit that gets a little bit smaller. You can see letting clearly there. On these ones, it disappears, but that's way smaller than you would ever use it. See what we got here. Hey Nuchka, thanks for joining. As you can see, I'm banging on tonight, like 2 hours 15 minutes. Lisa, it looks a bit like a soccer player to me now, about to kick a slightly flat ball. Yeah, with the other leg coming through to sweep through. But that, like I say, I think there's maybe a lot going on. For me, just the fact that it's called Olympian already gives the sporty, high achiever feeling to it. And when I'm doing logos, it is about, what can you take away? What can we take away? But the logo still gives across the ethos of what it is that we want, that we want for it. And the name Olympian is a strong name in itself. And I know you want to kind of bring the red into it, and you could do that. So it may be, could you? This is the problem with things that are compound paths and everything. If it was, if these were individual shapes, it would be easier. Yeah, that's a compound path, so it's not going to let me do it. I was going to say, I was going to make the M red, but then it may just look like Ollie Pie-in. It may be different, but, or maybe, the letting agents part could be in red, and then you could really, you could look to simplify let's just call it an athlete, so rather than it being a runner or something like that, it's just an athlete, and you don't have to have the house element, you don't have to have the door element in there, just a really nice mark or icon of a stylized runner, or an athlete of some sort. I think this is just too much, and I know I said that right at the start, and that's usually because I always end up going back to my first impressions of it. I like the typography. Just the spacing was a bit not right for me. The M definitely works for the Mount Olympus type thing. I think it's the right typography to use for that. In terms of the colours, the red and the blue being used in the Olympic rings, there is a connection there, but there's 5, so I think to get an Olympic connection, you would probably have to, have maybe all 5 colours in the palette so that people would connect to that. Just having red and blue maybe doesn't. I probably wouldn't have went, oh, and those are 2 of the Olympic colours. I would have looked at them more as they fit the brand, the target audience that you're trying to get. So with this one, I think there's probably a few marks missing, or missing the mark a little bit compared to the other ones. What I will say is that I think the typography was close. I think it just needed some spacing. I think you need to work on the mark. But what I will say, and what I will give you top marks for, is your design notes and how you are thinking about this logo. And we don't all, including myself, I'll have like a story-based design set of notes of what the logo mark is going to mean and where it comes from. And it can take me a little while to get the mark to match up to what this says. Because for me, when I read through this mark doesn't quite achieve the feeling and the passion which is building up in this description. This feels quite static and in place rather than energy and moving forward and speed. I think that's missing. And yeah, obviously when we've tried to do this, it's leading into certain iconography that we don't want it to achieve. This is saying, would the house still be visible if the body in the house would be connected? Sorry if this is already mentioned. Do you mean the top part of the body coming down onto this? If so, we moved that down, or I moved that down, and that kind of gave it the swastika look, more so when I kind of tilted the body as well. Nushi's saying, don't know if I should mention this, but a friend just saw the logo and thought he was stepping over some poo. Not the best, probably. That's what I was referencing when I said he's jumping over something that had been left on the street. That's kind of what I was saying, but I literally and figuratively tiptoed around that. But it sort of has that kind of when it's larger and you see the house and stuff, you get that. But when you zoom out and you start to lose some of that clarity on like a house shape, it does just look like someone, especially without this, without the bottom line, it does look like his without the bottom of the house, but it does look like he's jumping over something a dog may have left behind. Without the text, it looks like a sport/logo brand, which is not a bad thing because it's all about, it's a letting agents, but it's what David's trying to get across is that sort of youth, sporty, energy, Olympian type thing. But I get what you're saying, that on its own, if you didn't have the name next to it, you might not know that it's a letting agent. But you could say that probably about a lot of icons, that without the name being there, you might not know what it is that it represents. So like the McDonald's arches, if you didn't know McDonald's were a burger, a fast food company, does seeing an M, other than it being the leading part of the, the first letter in the name? Would you know it's, that comes with time and brand awareness. And I always say that to all my clients, that it's like, yeah, we can have an abstract icon, doesn't have to mean anything. That part of the journey is in repetition and showing your logo consistently, and wherever possible, showing the icon next to the word, wherever the space allows, so that people get used to it and they can see it, and and then it starts to build up that brand recognition. Any brand which is just coming out, and you have a name next to it, it's a combination mark, chances are when you see the symbol on its own, if it's more abstract or it's trying to infer, so in this case it's like trying to infer Olympian because it's part of the name, may give a different meaning when it's on its own until you've built up a lot of that recognition. But yeah, take on board that that's what that is, and what you're seeing. Lee's saying, I do think the line and lockup with the full logo feels like it belongs in properties/construction more than sports. That gets lost a bit in the other version. I was somehow expecting the athlete to be inside of the house shape. So was I. When I first kind of thought it was going to be, and I think that's the thing that's making my eyes, rather than go down through the logo, my eyes go up the way, because it's following up. You've got the points, you've got the point of the roof of the house, and then you've got the point of the body, and then the arm going up, and almost like a rocket going up. So I don't know if there is a way to, maybe rather than, if we, I'm just spitballing here, but rather than it being a circle container, could you do something that was more maybe sort of shield shaped or house shaped, and it has the person inside the house shape, so you've got the athlete icon inside of a house. So it's less the house is hidden inside the athlete, and more that the person is sort of inside an inferred shape of a home. I don't know, that may look a little cliched, but it's worth trying. Yeah, David, again, thanks for putting this out there, and being willing to take the feedback on. I've always said from the start that, sometimes, there are logos that come in and they're really good and they're really well done. And other times there's stuff that needs to be fixed. And it's better to hear that things need to be fixed and adjusted, and get ideas on how they can be adjusted and how they can be fixed, rather than me just saying, yeah, that's, it's all right. I can see how that might work for you. That doesn't help anyone. And it is difficult for me at times to almost feel like you're the bearer of bad news. But if you think about it more as constructive criticism, as long as there's direction in the way you can go, that's what matters. It's, and you're not just getting, it's not very good, or I wouldn't have done that, or it's about what follows up. Where can we explore? What can we change? And I think there's definitely, I honestly don't think you need to change the type. I think you've chosen a good type for Olympian. Need to figure out what we're going to do if you're just going to continue that with letting. It might be that you can decrease the tracking, and maybe you then have just a slight. I can do this because this is live. So I don't know what your tracking is, but I'm gonna see. There's 500 and it's nowhere near. I don't even think 1,000 is going to cut it. No, it's more than 1,000. 1,200. All right, it's less than 1,200. 1,150. Right, so it's probably about there. But what you could maybe do is really decrease that. Let's say even if you did it to 500. I'm just going to add more noise right now because of the way that the logo is in place. But if you were going to have this line here, would you be able to almost that's too thick anyway. have a line either side to kind of just take up some of that empty space if you still want to align it, or it might be that, you know, that goes, you know, either side of it. This is too close to the lettering anyway, so that would need to be, you'd want more space between there. You'd want more breathing room, but you want to kind of try to take up some of that negative space. But the tracking on there is it's too large right now. So yeah, so I'm sure David's going to go away and he's going to take some time. He's going to work on this. I don't know if this will come back onto the live stream or not, but I am 100% sure that David will share round 2 of this in the Discord group. We have a channel in there specifically for community feedback, and David has shared work in there. We've had a few people share work in there, which has been really, really good. So one last shout out to join the Discord community, which is discord.gg/RYB. And you can, you know, submit logos for community review, and I will add my comments as well. But I do always like having other people's feedback and to see what other people are saying, what ideas they're coming up with. And in the Discord, if, as I say, very soon it will be a case of you can only request live stream in-depth feedback through the Discord, and it's only when you have been a Discord user for a certain amount of time and you've taken part in the community. We have a role system, so you kind of gain experience by taking part and chatting and giving feedback. And when you reach when you reach level 10, you will be given a brand rocker role, and you will get access to a private channel to submit your logo for critique. And David was the first one to reach that, and I think Lee's is on level 9. I think Lee's is not far off reaching level 10. It doesn't take a lot of, you know, it's not a grind. It's just taking part in the community and you know, sharing any resources that you have, feedback and things like that. So yeah, I think we're having a bit of fun in the Discord. We've got a couple of big names in there from other groups like Ian Paget from Logo Geek and Mark DeCoates from Resourceful Designer, who are members as well. So if you're members of either of those groups, then you might want to kind of jump in too. So that's me just name dropping to get people to come in and join the Discord. But what we'll do is we'll call it a day there. That was an epic 2.5 hours. Thank you for joining. I appreciate it. And those of you who are already in the Discord, I will see you in there. Either I'll drop a little message in after this, or I will catch you tomorrow, and we'll catch up then. So yeah, until I see you all next time, stay creative, folks. Bye for now.